You're now listening to From the Jump.
Welcome to From the Jump, your source for all things hip-hop. I'm Syllable, and we're here to talk today with some amazing folks about the role of education in hip-hop. Make sure you subscribe and leave a comment below saying, I subscribed, and we'll try our best to reply to your comment. To my right, we got Wordsworth, co-founder of Lyricist Lounge, and we got MC Bravado over to my right, and to my left, we got Jay Rollins, amazing producer of the phenomenal album Black Star, Most Def into the Kweli. And then we have Asia Matthews. Welcome to the podcast. So I want to just start it off by saying thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you so much for joining us. And we really appreciate you tuning in for From the Jump. If you want to check out other album reaction playlists, go ahead and check the top right corner of the screen and you can click on that. But for now, let's go ahead and dive in. Why is it important to focus on education in hip hop, Wordsworth?
Because education is part of everyday living with the kids coming in the classroom. They actually live hip hop from the way that they dress, from the music that they listen to. So in order for us to bond with them, we need to make sure we're speaking the same language in some regards. Because if you don't speak their language or understand what they're doing musically or the way they dress or how they talk to each other, it just leaves a gap in communication.
Sweet. What do you think about that, MC Bravado?
No, I agree with all of that. I also think it's a great way to kind of sneak teach them concepts that they don't necessarily think they're interested in, whether it's like poetic devices or societal commentary that is made through hip-hop music that otherwise they may not be interested in, but that's the avenue by which it can feel digestible to them.
Definitely. That's definitely dope as fuck. When I was at the National Hip Hop Political Convention, I got a chance to build with Asheru, who created the Hip Hop Education Literacy Program that does amazing work with kids using hip hop lyrics to translate sometimes very challenging topics to kids that didn't learn through the regular education means that well. And so that's dope. So I love that topic. And Jay Rollins, what are your thoughts on that?
Yo, I mean, everything they said, and shout out to Asheru, that's my brother. Really, it's about, there's a thing called culturally relevant pedagogy, Gloria Ladson-Billings. And what that says is we should understand our students' culture and use that to help educate them. And that's like what hip-hop based education is born from. So that's basically the premise. So using CRP, culturally relevant pedagogy, using that, it's just showing that you care, because it takes a lot to, like, as a teacher, we're more of a facilitator as a guide, and that's how I view it. Like, we don't go in there and say, you guys are blank slates and we're just going to dump a bunch of information into you, and all of your real world experiences, your lived experiences, things you've been through, none of that counts. And that's the problem, because some teachers do that. So the point of it all is, as Word said, as Bravado said, is to allow your students to be who they are. Allow them, you center their culture in your classroom.
Dope. And speaking of cultural relevance, Asia, you definitely have a lot of expertise in that area.
Yeah, so I always say I'm kind of a product of it, of hip-hop and education in the classroom. I remember my 11th grade teacher, he played a Tupac song, and it was like, you have to mirror this based around your life. So that was like my first introduction, and I realized, like, okay, it's something here, because I was looking forward to his classroom every other B-day now, because I'm like, okay, you kind of brought yourself into my culture now, so why not meet you where you are as an English teacher? So I kind of just took that with me in my career, because I saw, again, I was a product of, just picking that interest and then just adding on to that so that you can get to the success that we have to all get to, obviously, as educators. So.
Dope. And what exactly do? You have some synergy between media and culture, right?
Yeah, so I have a company that's a digital media company. That's kind of what I do, but that passion translated into youth development and community advocacy. So I took all the passion that I had with digital media and web design and music and, formulated it into programs for kids in Baltimore.
Nice.
So I've worked with Boys and Girls Club, Junior Achievement, a bunch of different nonprofits to just curate different programs for kids centered around hip-hop and education.
That's dope. I love that connection that you made with your teacher there. I had a similar experience because when I was going to high school, I was actually living on the street. So I was living in a cardboard box in an alleyway, and I was still going to school because free lunch, right? And my math teacher actually, and I don't like math that much, but he made that connection, and he saw what I was going through, and he was a hip hop head, and so he introduced me to a lot of my early hip hop that I started listening to, and it was through that I began to understand the language of hip hop as a culture, not just a genre of music, and the concept of giving voice to the voiceless, overcoming the struggle, because I was going through it, right, and it was just challenging digging in a dumpster for food, going to school, then seeing kids there brag about like their cars or rides or complain about how bad life was because their Beamer got a scratch on it, right? And I'm like, I'm not even gonna say anything, but that connection that he made with me, right, is part of why I made it, was because of that guy, right? And so that's, shout out to those teachers that go above and beyond, right? That actually make that connection.
So both of y'all are products of everything that we're advocating for.
You guys want to expand on that?
Great. I mean, how else do you expand? I mean, we can sit here and look at y'all too. You don't even need to expand. There's your expansion. I mean, I'm looking at degrees on the wall.
Yeah.
Right?
I think also, like, a lot of times, like, how kids come into the classroom, it's like meeting a stranger.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then they'll meet the stranger, and they're trying to figure out, like, do I like this stranger? Like, first day, kids be sitting there mad quiet. Then the second day, then depending on what you say, if you don't say anything that deals in the realm of what they relate to, that's it. They either want to transfer out, they're done with you, they go to sleep, whatever the case. So you have to find that starting point, and hip hop is usually it.
Yeah, that's dope. There was a guy named Ron Clark who actually went into like one of the hardest classrooms ever, and they're like, "You're a skinny little white dude. Like, you shouldn't go into this classroom. This is not Dangerous Minds of Michelle Pfeiffer, right?" But he went in there, and they gave him shit. They gave him a lot of hell. But then what happened? Every day he chose a new child from that classroom, had lunch with them, broke bread with them, asked them what their home life was like, found out what was really going on that was behind the acting up, made a connection, and that became one of the most amazing experiences, right? And he was on Oprah and stuff. He's founded the Ron Clark Academy and ATL, right?
Yeah, we have.
Yeah,
definitely have. I mean, but that's what my dissertation was about. It's a theory called relational pedagogy, right? And it's about building relationships with students, and that should be our focus, not behaviorism, not standardized tests, all that kind of stuff. Like, if you build the relationships with students, then you're going to see that student engagement. You're going to see academic achievement, because you're building that with the students. So you have that relationship. So when things go wrong or things go well, they're coming to you. They trust you.
Yeah,
you have that connection that Bravado and that Words was talking about.
I don't want this to sound like disingenuous, but I think like teaching is equal parts like content knowledge, people skills, but also like sales to a degree. Like because if they're not, I've seen so many teachers that they might have a doctorate in this or that, and the kids don't care. They can't make it work with the kids. Relate. Like, so you have to go in there and sell the idea of the content, the idea of yourself, and if they're buying into you. I've had kids going crazy over fucking subordinating conjunctions, you know what I mean? Like in Baltimore City. Like, nice. And that's purely like
So you're a teacher as well?
I was a teacher until 2018 before I jumped in full time with music. But
nice.
Yeah, but like it really is. It's about that. It's a people business. Like content knowledge matters. You can't like go in there knowing nothing.
Sure.
But there are so many people that when I started, especially my first year, I'd be like, man, they know their stuff. Everything. Yeah. And I looked at them as the best teacher, but it quickly became evident that the best teacher was about a lot more than
the connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about the connection. So Wordsworth, you've heard of social emotional learning, I'm sure, like SEL, right? Teaching kids social skills. I wish I had that shit when I was going to school. That didn't exist back then. We didn't have buzzwords like SEL or like neural flexibility or any of that. That didn't even exist back in like 99, to date myself. But, I have friends right now who are teachers. I was teaching in my undergrad when I was working on my degree. And one of the things that I saw is that while like social emotional learning is fantastic, if it exists, the teachers themselves have to have emotional intelligence to teach it, right? First of all. Yeah. And the second of all, if you go through it like it's a routine, that knowledge doesn't transfer, right? And so it's a matter of like, how do you make that connection as a teacher with that material of emotional intelligence and then transfer that to the kids as well?
I think one of the main things that I always try to stress in the class and then I ask the students about this is a very key thing. I just say, do you guys know what the word empathy means? A lot of them don't know what empathy means. They know what sympathy is, but empathy is something that takes it to a whole nother level. So I think teaching empathy, it helps with a lot of that social things because you're able to put yourself in that person's shoes. So I think if people are able to understand and reflect on the fact that you can relate in some shape, form, or fashion, whether it's an anecdote that you have about your life that reflects and relates to theirs, it's more personal. So that way, when a lot of times when kids are having issues in the class with other students, I'm always saying, well, what if that was you? What if you went through that? What if you making fun of this person with that? Not everybody has money like that. So I said, so I explain it to them, but I think you have to, what I do is a pause for the cause. So if I hear some madness going on, I'll be like, all right, we're going to pause for the cause. Y'all ain't here doing some wildness. We're going to talk about this right now. And I try to bring a realistic situation, and I bring it to the forefront of the classroom to be like, now you wouldn't do that outside, so let's stop that, Or if you had this and that, that's how that would happen. Because a lot of them don't. When I was in that age of middle school, I'm in middle school, but I know in middle school, I didn't think nothing about the future. All I thought about, you live by moments in middle school. You live real by moments.
Exactly.
So I thought about what sneakers I had on. I thought about the girls that I was messing with then. I thought about the video game I was playing and who I was beating in the video game and trying to have friends come over and play video games, and in the park. I think that's really it right there. I go to the park, video games, girls, and sneakers and clothes. That was my life. So it was all about how I'm going to look the next day. And that's all they're thinking about. So you have to kind of relate it to understanding those 4 aspects is part of hip hop.
Yeah.
Video gaming is part of hip hop. Relationships, and, spoken about in records, clothing, looking fresh, and all that. So you gotta make sure that you're up to speed with how to find the connection there. So
definitely
empathy, I think, is what's missing, and that would help a lot with what's going on
from the jump.
Peace.